Hello. Hello, girly pops. My name is Singular Dubs, and welcome back to Hello. Before we talk about absolutely anything else, today I am drinking a pumpkin spice cold brew and water from my Owala. Girlies, for years I've lived my life trying to make everybody happy. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I went around trying to solve problems that weren't even mine. And I was so worried about the people around me liking me that I didn't even know what I liked anymore. And the worst part is that I convinced myself, I just gaslighted myself into believing that this was what it was to be a good person. And honestly, I'm 26. What I've learned at this point is that there's a huge difference between being kind and just trying to get along and being a doormat, okay? It's a big difference. So today we're talking about the Diaries of a Recovering People Pleaser, how I went from literally caring about absolutely everybody else to putting myself first without guilt. And girl, if you are the kind of person that struggles to say no, that is overthinking every single text, you feel like you're walking on eggshells at every point, this episode is for you, trust me. And let me tell you a little secret. When you start saying no, a lot of people won't like it. And guess what? Those are the people that were benefiting from you not having any boundary. And I also have an episode on setting boundaries. If you feel like you're struggling with that, just hop right over and listen to it. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and like the episode so that we can stay in touch with each other. And buckle up because we're about to unlearn something. And here is how my people pleasing era started. And if you're new to my channel, I was married for a while. Now I am divorced, thank God. But a lot of my issues are tied to my ex because, well, he was a piece of shit. To be 100% honest, before him, and I think just before coming to the US, I didn't really struggle with this. It was to the point where I never really cared what other people had to say about me. Like, I remember being little, and this might be a little too much, but I was little. I was having like a sleepover at my house with like some girlfriends, whatever. We were maybe like 10, 11 years old. I have no idea. We were little, okay? And I don't know, I got upset with one of them, like they were making fun of me, or like they were just poking at me, okay? It was just a little too much. And I told my mom, call their moms because they're all leaving right now. It was maybe 10:30, 11 p.m. And I was like, call their moms. No, they're not staying at my house. They can either call their moms and come pick them up, or they're gonna literally sleep outside. Have I always been very black and white? Yes. I am also a Scorpio, so I'm just gonna blame it on that. But in my head, like I look back and I'm like, I mean, good for that little girl for standing up for herself, because like, you're at my house, at my little party or like get together or whatever. Why are you making fun of me? Why are you poking at me? And you best believe all of those moms showed up, picked up their kids and left. And I was happy. I slept in my bed happy. I was like, this is it. And the next Monday we went to school and it was fine. But for the past couple of years, I've not been like this. Okay. I've really struggled with saying no, with just setting boundaries and those type of things. And I'm going to tell you the story of my wedding, okay? Which was probably, like just such an awful time. I had such a bad time at my wedding. And I think just now I'm able to talk about my wedding without crying. Because for years, I used to think about my wedding and I was like, I had such a bad time in my wedding. And it's supposed to be like one of the happiest days of your life. Wrong. Mine was not like that. So let's start from the beginning. I was an au pair when I got married. So like a nanny, like a living nanny, okay? So I was living with a host family. My ex was living with his parents. So mind you, my ex had gone on a Wednesday night. My wedding was on a Friday, okay? Like Friday at like noon, I don't know. Wednesday night to throw fireworks at his ex's house. I didn't find this out for years after, okay? He went to throw fireworks. The idiot, I guess he was like holding a firework for way too long before throwing it, and it exploded inside his car. It exploded inside his car. Yeah, he was not the brightest, okay? Anyways, it explodes inside his car. I guess he had like some fragments of something just like stuck to his leg. You know, he was bleeding. He was taken to the ER. His parents called me from the ER. And they're like, oh, you know, like he got into like a situation. We're at the ER. And in my head, I'm like, it's midnight. What fucking situation? Like, our wedding is happening in 2 days. What situation? Like, is he okay? So Thursday morning, because remember this happened Wednesday night, right? Thursday morning, I'm getting the kids ready to go to school. I'm making their lunches, their breakfast, whatever it is. And then after I dropped them off, I made it a point to go to his parents' house to check on him because, of course, I'm like, is he okay? What happened? No one gave me any details. I knew he was going to go out that Wednesday night with his friends in like a bachelor's type of thing. But he didn't really have that many friends and he didn't really have a budget. So there wasn't like a party going on. I just knew they were going to go out. Okay. So I was like, what happened? What went wrong? Right. And I am very much so an overthinker. So I'm out here thinking absolutely every single scenario that could have happened for him to have something exploded in his car. Anyways, I get to his parents' house and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, no, someone threw a bomb at the car. And I'm like, what do you mean someone threw a bomb at the car? You're driving a freaking Jeep. It's not like you're driving a Ferrari. Like, what do you mean someone threw a bomb at the car? Yeah, a kid riding a bicycle. Whatever. He just made up the worst freaking story. I am a liar detector. Okay, so I'm sitting there looking straight into his eyes and I was like, did you call the cops? No, because I don't remember where it was. And I was like, what do you mean someone throws a bomb at your car and you don't remember where it was? Call the cops right now. No, I'm not going to call the cops because, like, I don't have a description. If you don't call the cops right now, that tells me that you're lying. If you're lying about this and you're not telling me what's wrong and what happened, we're not getting married. Well, I'm not going to call the cops. And then his family, like mom, dad, and sister are right there. And they're like, well, like, it's okay if he doesn't remember. And I'm like, call the cops right now or there's no wedding. Was I a little bit intense? Absolutely. Was I already like, this guy is lying? This guy is lying 100%. Yes. Bottom line, he calls the cops. I am just listening to the call with the cops and I'm like, this story has no foundation. This is totally a lie, but what am I going to do? The wedding is planned in 2 days. We have people flying in, like, whatever. The sister comes at me and tells me, I think you're just a little too stressed about the wedding. I think it's better if you go. Beg your finest pardon. I was getting kicked out when he was the one that was lying, okay? This was Thursday, like, at, like, noon or something like that. Maybe Thursday at, like, 10 a.m. Our wedding is in 24 hours. This guy's lying about a bomb getting thrown at his car and I'm getting kicked out of the house? Beg your pardon? So then logistics for the wedding come up. Right? I did leave that day because I was literally getting kicked out of his parents' house. No one stood up for me. No one even said, yeah, she should stay because he's obviously lying. Mind you, at this point, we did not know what he was doing. He literally said that someone threw a bomb at his car. Years later, I found out that he let the firework go and it exploded in his car. So at this point, he's still lying, right? I lived in Oakland. They lived in Alameda. My wedding was in San Francisco, okay? So at this point, we're texting them like, hey, just checking in that you guys are picking me up at like 12 or like 11:45 just to make sure, yeah, for sure, okay, that works, like no problem. Because I didn't want him to see me until we were actually about to get married. Like I wanted to do like the reveal and like the turnaround and whatever else because my wedding was a city hall wedding. It wasn't nothing fancy, but I wanted to make it as special as I possibly could because to me, that was going to be my one and only wedding, so might as well try our best. Later on Thursday, his parents, that were the ones that were going to pick me up because my ex was going to drive to the city hall by himself, and his parents were going to pick me up from Oakland and go, them and I together, to the city. His parents text me, hey, just change of plans because now we have to pick up our friend in Berkeley, and the options are us to pick you up super early. I'm talking like 6 a.m. to pick you up super early so that then we can go get her. Otherwise she's gonna have to drive to us and like it's just going to be such an inconvenience. And in my head I'm just like, an inconvenience? I'm the bride. And anyways, so at this point I'm like 6 a.m. Like if on the day of my wedding you wanna pick me up at 6 a.m., that means I have to travel because I was doing my makeup, I was doing my hair. I have to travel with all of my stuff, my shenanigans, and get ready at your house, which is not my comfort place because I don't live there. And then go to the city hall, like go pick up your friend to then go to the city hall. It just made no sense. And I'm out here like they're switching up the plans on me and proposing to pick me up at 6 a.m. This is absolutely insane. So I was like, well, can you just pick her up at 6 a.m. and then come for me like later because I have to get ready? No. It's not going to work like that. Like you have to come. Like that's the only thing we can do. And I was like, how is your friend more important than the bride? And mind you, like I got along with his parents just fine. It's not like they were just, I think they were just unaware to be honest, but they weren't rude or anything like that. So what do you mean? Even like now I think about it and I'm like, you're inconveniencing me and without me there's no wedding, right? I've never drank in my life. I don't like alcohol. That night, my host family was having dinner and they said like, do you want a glass of wine? Which they always offer. They were really sweet. And that day I said, yes, I'll take the glass of wine. The night before my wedding. And my host family was like, are you okay? Like you don't have to do this if you don't want to. It was to that point, like for me to drink alcohol, like it's revolutionary. So they're like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. You're really young. I was 21 years old. Okay. Yeah, I was really young. So I was like, no, it's okay. It's fine. I told my mother-in-law, or my ex-mother-in-law, you know what? Don't worry about it. I will just take an Uber. I took an Uber to my own wedding. Okay. Shut the front door. I took an Uber to my own wedding so that my in-laws could pick up their friend. If that's not a bad start, you tell me. This friend, I had never met her in my life. Mind you, later on, years later, her family, like this friend and her family, ended up meaning so much for me. Like, I actually really adore them. But at that point, I hadn't met this lady in my life. Okay, I hadn't met her. When you're getting married in the San Francisco City Hall, I think you can have 6 people with you and that's it. Okay, there's no like inviting a whole bunch of people, because at the end of the day, you're just signing some papers, they're telling you some cutesy stuff and move on next, right? Because I didn't have friends at that point and I didn't have any family here. So it was all his people, right? And I wanted for my host family to be at least like the host dad and the host mom to be 2 people of my side to be there for me. His family said, well, but they're not really your family, so like, can we just bring our friends? So it was my ex's mom and dad, sister and grandma, this random lady, and the photographer. Those were my 6 people, okay? And they were even struggling with the photographer, but I said, I want a photographer, I want pictures. The photographer's coming for sure, because they wanted to invite someone else. I'm getting married and I'm like, why is this lady even here? And when I get to the courthouse, one of the first things she asked me is like, so how do you say your name? And I was like, why in the world is this lady even here? She doesn't even know how to say my name. This is my first time meeting her. And she was my ex-mother-in-law's best friend, because they were college roommates, whatever else. They were best friends. Absolutely. It's not your wedding. It's your son's wedding. And even like at that point, like I asked my ex, like, does she mean a lot to you? No, not really. I mean, I don't really care about her. Why is this lady here? Mind you, now I adore her, I adore her family, but at that point, I didn't know her. So I was so pissed. I was like, you guys couldn't pick me up to go get this lady that I've never met. What am I doing? Then the reception comes by, which was in his parents' house. And we had, as I said, all of his family. From the mom's side, from the dad's side, it was all of his family. I didn't have anyone of my family in my wedding, which honestly, it's like gut-wrenching, right? The entire evening, people were asking me, why aren't your family here? Where's your mom? Where are your friends? When I tell you, every like 15-20 minutes, I had to like take a little recess to sit down in the bathroom, and like I couldn't cry because I had makeup on, but I had to sit in the bathroom and just like, because I didn't want to be there. And honestly, that should have been a red flag for me. But it obviously wasn't at the point. I had such a bad time in my wedding, and they just did like some decor and some stuff that I didn't want. It was like basically everything on the reception wasn't something that I wanted. Mind you, the budget super tight, okay? Very tight. And his parents very kindly offered to pay for like the catering and the cake and those type of things, but it was nothing that I wanted. It was whatever they wanted. I think they had, our cater food was Greek food from a restaurant that they liked. I don't think I had ever been to before. And if you know me, you know that I am like a toddler, okay? If food doesn't look like pretty, I probably won't want to eat it. Like, it has to look cutesy. Greek food doesn't particularly have the best look. It has awesome taste, not a great look. So I get there and I'm like, because we had discussed having Italian food, whatever, and I was like, what even is this? So my entire wedding, it was nothing that I wanted, okay? And I genuinely felt like I couldn't stand up for myself because I didn't want to make them upset. I didn't want to say, no, I don't want you to go pick up your friend. Can you just pick me up? Otherwise, I'm Ubering, which is ridiculous on my wedding day. I should have stood up for myself. I should have said, no, I don't want Greek food. This is your food. No, I don't want your friend there. That's not my friend. I should have stood up for myself. And now at 26 years old, 5 years after my wedding, I realized that people pleasing is not about kindness. Not at all. It comes from fear. Fear of being seen as being too much, fear of being rejected, fear of starting a problem. It comes from fear. And I think my wedding made me reach a breaking point where I realized I was drained, I was exhausted, I was not happy. I couldn't keep just saying yes and yes to everything because I felt resent from saying yes. But now that I look back, I'm like, these people didn't know that I was so upset about all these things. I was bottling it up. I was the one struggling with it. They had no idea. They just went to pick up their friend, and probably till this day they have no clue. I mean, my ex knew, but the family didn't know because I wasn't voicing that this was an issue for me. And I remember when all of this was going down, I was like, oh my gosh, am I the worst human ever? Am I selfish for not wanting Greek food at my wedding? It was simply a battle all the time of, am I selfish? Am I good? What am I? Like, why am I struggling so much to just have an opposite opinion to anything? And mind you, I did put some opposition to the Greek food, right? But they simply was like, well, this is what we want and this is what's happening and that's it. And because I didn't really want to keep the confrontation, I simply backed out and said, okay, like Greek food it is, like whatever, it's fine. It wasn't fine. I really, really, really did not want Greek food, but I simply didn't want to keep fighting. And I think the people that love you and the people that are, your friends, your people are going to understand that you don't have to please their wants and needs at every single point. And that's okay. But now that you know about my people pleasing era, we need to move to my putting myself first era. And the biggest mindset shift that I had to do to accomplish this was to stop asking, will they be mad? And start asking, how do I feel? And I think this is also going to make a huge change for you into the whole feeling guilty part of it. Because if you stop thinking, am I being mean? And start thinking, I'm being honest. Of course, with some degree, okay? Because some people always say like, oh, I just don't have a filter. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. And in reality, they're just being pieces of shit. But if you're truly being honest about your feelings without putting others down, without making others feel bad, like intentionally making others feel bad, then you're good. You do not need to feel guilt for how you feel, for your thoughts, for your opinions. Because how would I have been mean for saying, no, I do not want Greek food at my wedding? That's not mean. That's simply how I feel about it. And hear me out, girly pops. These are things that you can start implementing to make this switch. You do not have to over-explain yourself, okay? No, it's an answer. No, it's a full answer and a full explanation. Do you want Greek food at your wedding? No, that's it. I don't have to say no because I don't like the texture and I don't like how it looks and no, thank you. No, it's a full sentence. You do not need to over-explain. And you also do not need to be sorry for absolutely everything. Because I know, and this is something that I'm still working on, I apologize for everything. For everything. It's like, I'll be like walking by, oh, I'm sorry. The other day, I was leaving BART, which is like the metro here. I was leaving the metro, and like, I accidentally cut this guy off, but like, there was still a big distance between us. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I generally felt so bad about it. And I'm like, girl, why are you feeling sorry for it? Like, it's rush hour. Like, everyone's trying to get to their jobs. Like, no, you do not need to feel sorry for this. So stop feeling so sorry and so apologetic for things that do not need to be apologized for. And let's say that your issue is like a little bit different. And let's say that you simply, like a lot of your friends are inviting you out and you are overworked, overexhausted, like all of these things. No also applies to it. You do not have to make up a story of like, oh no, I'm just really sick. My tummy hurts and I can't show up tonight. No. Oh, are you coming tonight? No, I'm not. That's it. That is simply it. No is a full answer. And the second you start believing on that, literally life change. Because also, guess what? The world won't end if somebody is upset at you. It really won't. You'll move on. That person will move on. Maybe you'll make up. But for somebody being upset at you for you saying no, or for you simply disagreeing with them or something, the world is not going to stop spinning. Believe me. I also have another story of people pleasing about an ex-best friend and a threesome. I probably shouldn't talk about it. Maybe in another episode I'll talk about it. And if you want to hear that episode, you best believe you need to subscribe, like this episode, and just leave a little comment of, ooh, what threesome? What are you talking about? And I'll tell you about it. And girls, I know that for those of us that struggle with people pleasing, you really want to get out of it because you know it's not doing you any better, okay? It's not doing any good things for you. I mean, it's doing good things for others for sure, but then you feel all of this pressure and all of it. Let me tell you what it feels like when you're able to stand up for yourself and put yourself first before others, okay? I feel lighter. I simply feel like I'm not carrying all of this, oh, I should have said no or I should have said yes just because this person didn't want to, and oh, why didn't I? Because this would eat at me, okay? I will hold on to these emotions for such a long time. Let's say my boyfriend wanted to go to one of the all-star events that are going on this weekend, and I truly did not want to go, but I simply went because he wanted to. Then I will be at the event being like, oh, why did I say yes? I truly don't want to be here. I want to go home and nap. And it would eat at me. This didn't happen, okay? This is fully made up. But these type of things would eat at me every single day, and I would think about them for months and months and months moving forward. I mean, it's been 5 years, and I'm still thinking about how freaking pissed I was at my wedding. So by setting boundaries and not people pleasing, you're gonna start feeling lighter, believe me. And girl, I have a lot healthier relationships because they're based out of mutual respect and not obligation. Because I did notice when I did the switch, a lot of the people that I tended to cater towards, like we weren't maybe really that similar, but I would make myself similar so that they were happy. The second I started actually being myself and not catering to their needs, they slightly just got pushed away. They're not in my life anymore. And honestly, probably for the better, because what were we doing together if we were not really a good match? And I'm not talking about like loving relationships, like friendships, just interpersonal relationships that just weren't meant to be. But I wanted them to be, but they weren't meant to be. And girls, to make this change, I think you do have to be very aware and very conscious of how am I going to handle this situation now? When now someone asks me for something, I'm like, do I actually want to do it? Do I want to do it? Do I feel comfortable with this? If the answer is no, I'm not doing it. If the answer is like, I'm actually not, I don't want to do it, but I'm not bothered by it, sure, I'll do it. And remember, when you're feeling guilty about X, Y, and Z, guilt doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It simply means that you're breaking a habit. It means that you were used to saying yes to everything and now you're saying no, and you feel that little itch in your chest that's like, oh, this feels wrong. It's not wrong. It's simply different. You're not used to it, but it's not wrong. And remember, you are not responsible about how other people feel about your boundaries. You are responsible for your own peace. No one's gonna protect your peace. Why are you protecting other people's pieces? Like, protect your own. They can deal with theirs. And friend, if this episode hit it home for you, I want you to do something this week. Just say no to something you don't want to do. No over-explaining, no excuses, no making things up, no guilt. Just say no. And after you see how that feels, DM me, shoot me a little message saying, oh my gosh, I am dying a little bit on the inside, but that actually felt kind of great. Or I am dying a little bit on the inside. That felt so sucky, but I'm kind of down to keep trying it. You can DM me on every social platform for the podcast as at It's a Law Podcast, and my socials on every platform is at Ingalerdubs. And although I feel like this episode was a little bit on the shorter side of things, you definitely heard about some tea. I hope you got something out of it, and maybe on the next episode we'll talk about the threesome I told you about. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know if I'll talk about it, but maybe. Anyways, girly pops, that was it for this episode. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and thank you for listening. Besitos.